Hi everyone, I'm excited to share a part of my game development journey. For years, I've been inspired by watching devlogs and following along with creators' game projects. I figured I'd share where I'm at and document my progress. Right now, I don't actually have a strong game concept in mind, and I've been working much more on systems. In this video, I'll talk through a few prototypes I've made and the process I went through. I created some proof of concepts and coded some silly things along the way. Now that I have a rough idea of the games I could create, I'm taking a step back and focusing on having solid systems as a foundation. My thought process is that having a strong core project with well-working systems will make experimenting and adding gameplay features more straightforward later. I started out by prototyping a cooking game in Unity. The game concept was extremely simple. Maybe it's possible to tell by looking at it, but the idea was just to recreate old-school restaurant flash games like Papa's Pizzeria into 3D. BioShock won Game of the Year in 2007, but it really should have been Papa's Pizzeria. Making this game seems simple. I'm not a beginner at Unity. I studied game design in college and I made quite a few projects. Like making a game where a bunch of beetles race each other on top of a worm. Or a game that plays like Rocket League if the characters were helicopters instead of cars. Or making Dark Souls 4 on the Game Boy Advance. This one isn't made in Unity, but it's definitely worth sharing. Some people even downloaded the ROM online and played the game on real Game Boys. I've even used Unity in virtual reality research, where we looked at human behavior. Obviously, these aren't commercialized, but they're all relatively polished game experiences. I only mention all these earlier prototypes to ask myself now, what was I doing here? In this burger game, I had the bright idea to make event-driven interactions with no physics at all, and I coded the most overly complex grabbing system known to man. This footage is actually all sped up 2 times because of how clunky everything was. Just look at it in real time. You get the point. It's pretty bad. So, I decided to switch over to Godot. I was making that first prototype around the time we probably all remember when Unity pooped the bed, and I saw many other developers consider switching to Godot. I followed suit, but my motivation was actually a little different. I like to work on the go on a lower-powered laptop, and every Unity update makes the editor's startup and load times longer and longer. Unreal is just ridiculous in that regard, so it isn't even an option. I think Unity and Unreal cater to everyone, so add tons of features that I'll never use and bloat their engines. I also think that pushing graphics is kind of a crutch, and an effect that we're seeing is that your typical game is just worse these days, with a higher cost than back in my day 10 to 20 years ago. Anyways, the initial jump from Unity to Godot was weird for me, but I ended up writing an entity component system that worked really well for me. An entity here is a physical thing, like our characters, and its child components enable functionality. You can find and interact with desired entities using simple checks to make sure that they have the appropriate components. For example, a character has a grabber component that allows it to grab objects, and an object that needs to be grabbed has a grabbable component. These two are compatible so that our characters can instantly pick up anything that's labeled as a grabbable. As I built this out in Godot, I made some simple interaction logic. I played around with Godot's unique features. And I even implemented some simple AI agent behaviors. I played around with art styles and looked at Godot's shaders. I made a gun that will shoot cheese at you. A fun fact about this is the gun is actually a composition of my simple interaction system, so I didn't design anything specific to a gun or specific to shooting. It's really just the throwing mechanics seen earlier in parts of the video, combined with an input mechanism that triggers when you're holding an object. I even managed to make an agent that will grab the nearest cheese gun, pick it up, and shoot you. Here's a taste of your own medicine, cheese guy. After a while, I had a decent prototype with a number of working systems. You can take orders, make pizzas, and do enough to have a decent first game loop. As we can see, agents walk into the shop, you can take their orders. By grabbing ingredients, rolling out dough, combining the ingredients together, and then finally cooking them, you make the perfect pizzas. Once a customer gets their pizza, some scoring logic occurs in the background, and then they leave. This all looks good, but I'm not quite happy with it. You see, I had an erratic working schedule on this, and I was rushing certain areas to get results, so certain parts are hot garbage underneath the hood. So, I did what any reasonable person would do and decided to completely start over. Why? This pizza game is working pretty well, but it's relatively simple. I now have a few months to really focus on this, and I want to see how far I can go. My plan is to make a strong foundation that I can expand into specific games, kind of like a purpose-built engine. You see, back in my day, studios maintained their own engines, and we liked it. Just like the interaction and grabbing system that I touched on earlier, I want to first focus on having a suite of strong systems to work with. These are definitely going to be flawed and have their own set of constraints, but I think that's part of the key to making a game that has actual character and a unique feel. Once I have a set of common systems, I can then shift to building up game mechanics for a specific experience, subject to those constraints. So far, I've re-implemented some of the stronger mechanics from the prototype, like my interaction system. You can grab or toggle common objects, or specify specific interactions between two entities. I also built up some new agent behaviors, and now I have a fun crowd simulator, as you can see here. Before I branch out into a specific game, I have some more system work I want to do. This includes trying to make my own version of goal-oriented action planning, which is an uncoupled way to make agent AI. I've been making behavior trees so far, which is what we've seen, but these require a lot of development planning to not feel robotic. With goal-oriented action planning, I'd be able to specify an agent's goals and actions, then they'll decide on their own how to solve the goal, leading to some fun emergent behaviors. I'm also going to set aside time to tackle making a character creator to populate any worlds with unique-looking NPCs and characters. Right now, everything has been prototype art and uses Mixamo animations, which need to be phased out. I think this can be a fun visual project rather than a pure systems approach. If any of this seems interesting, feel free to stick around for the next progress update. Let me know in the comments anything you'd like to see, and maybe I'll be able to add it in. I'm excited to see where this project goes, and who knows, maybe within a few devlogs, we'll actually have a project off the ground and be pushing towards a concrete game implementation. Anyways, thanks so much for sticking around, and hope to see you in the next one.